meeting. I am currently here along with Alderman Huntley and Alderman Gay. Alderman Gay is having some technical issues, so he will be taking over his routine chair duties as soon as he has those sorted out. Before we begin the agenda, I am going to ask for a motion to move AP 5725 to the bottom. I'm going to move AP 5725 I am currently here along with Alderman Huntley and Alderman
Miss
Gay.
Valerie
Alderman Gay is having some technical
running a little
issues,
bit
so he will be
behind.
taking over
So can I get a
his
motion
routine chair duties
to
as soon as he
approve the
has those
agenda
sorted
as
out.
amended?
Before
So
we
moved.
begin the agenda,
Second.
I
All right,
am
all
going
those in
to
favor?
ask for a
Aye.
motion to move
All right,
AP
up next, can I get an approval
5725 to
of
the
the
bottom?
amendments
I'm
from
going to
June
move AP
21st
I
to
am
the end of
currently
the
here
You mean
agenda
along
the
with
due to
Alderman
minutes
Huntley
from
and
July
Alderman
20th?
Miss
Gay.
Valerie
Yes,
Bloom
July
running
21st. I
a
apologize.
little
She's
bit
dyslexia
behind.
strikes again. So can I
So
get a
moved.
motion to approve the agenda as
amended?
before
So
we
moved.
begin the
All those in
agenda,
favor?
I
All right,
am
all
going
those in
to
favor?
ask for a
Aye.
motion
All right,
to
up
move
first on the
AP
agenda, can I get an approval of the
5625, the
amendments
appointment of
from
Miss
June
Janine Tasker
21st
to the Human Relations
You
Commission.
mean the
Ms.
minutes
Tasker, if you could please
from
turn
July
on your
20th?
camera. Yes,
Alderman
July
Gay is
21st. I apologize.
She's
Dyslexia strikes
taking
again.
over
So can I
So
get a
moved.
motion to approve the agenda as
amended?
before
So
we
moved.
begin the
All those in
agenda,
favor?
I
Aye.
am
All
going
those in
to
favor?
ask for a
Aye.
motion
All right,
to
up
move
first on the agenda, can I get an approval of the
5625, the
amendments
appointment of
from
Miss
June
Janine Tasker
21st?
to the Human Relations Commission.
You mean the
Ms. Tasker, if
minutes
you could please
from
turn
July
on your
20th?
camera. Yes, July 21st. I
running
apologize.
a little bit
Dyslexia
behind.
strikes again. So can I
So
get a
moved.
motion to approve the agenda as
amended?
before
So
we
moved.
begin the
All those in
agenda,
favor?
I
Aye.
am
All
going
those in
to
favor?
ask
Of
for a
course.
motion
All right,
to
up
move
first on the agenda,
AP
can I get an approval of
5625, the
the
appointment
Up and
You
running.
mean the
Can you hear us fine? Everything working? Thank you. We appreciate that very much. Alderman, the last name that you called, I'm sorry, I'm looking on the agenda now.
we have Miss Janine Tasker for Human Relations Commission, AP
Can you hear us fine?
5625.
Everything working? Which I do not believe she's present. I don't see that on my screen. So thank you. We appreciate that very much. Alderman,
We can move on to the
last
next,
name that you called. I'm sorry, I'm looking
which
on the
is
agenda now. The next AP. Can you read that one for me? I'm still getting Legistar
It
out.
looks like
We have
it looks
Miss
like
Janine
Mark might
Tasker
be having problems
for
still.
Human Relations
Just,
Commission,
I can't
AP
hear him, but he
5625.
was
Everything
looking
working?
exasperated.
Which I do not believe she's present. I don't see that on my screen. So thank you. We appreciate
Mark,
that very
before
much.
we go on, our
Alderman, can
our
we
Miss
move on
Tasker.
to the Mark, we can't hear you. Sorry. Of course, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. We all set? Okay. And Caitlin, we're just making a motion to come out of this recess.
Okay.
All right, whenever you're all ready.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you very much to the general public for waiting, just fixing a quick technical issue there. Is there a motion to reconvene our meeting?
So moved.
And a
Second.
second? All those in favor? Aye.
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 None opposed. Thank you very much. We'll get right back into the APs. Starting with AP 5625, Ms. Tasker, I do not believe is present with us, but nonetheless, we'll move her appointment forward to the full council. Next on the agenda is AP 5725, appointments Ms. Valerie Bonham to the Commission of Aging. I do not believe is present either.
Brooks made a motion to amend the agenda to move 58 to the bottom,
You're right. Thank you.
57 to the bottom.
57 to the bottom, and 56 you have to vote on it to move it to the
So I move we postpone action on 56.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll come back to AP 5725. Next on the agenda, AP 5825, appointment Ms. Samantha Watts to the Education Commission. Mind you, we've been off for a month to the public, so we're getting back to the swing of things. Ms. Watts, thank you for joining us tonight. Are there any questions from the committee on the for the appointee? I'm seeing none. Ms. Watts, if you wanted to just share your interest in the Education Commission.
Yes, so in my professional life, I've been a teacher, a substitute teacher, and I now work in the corporate training field. I have experience volunteering in the community as a volunteer tutor for the Anne Arundel County or the Anne Arundel Literacy Council, as well as being a youth volleyball coach. And so I'm really excited to contribute to Annapolis in this way. I live in Ward 7, but I believe the position that I'm being appointed to is at large.
That is correct. Yeah. And again, I appreciate you very much for stepping up to this commission in particular, just due to the importance with obviously the youth and trying to make a connection between the public school system and our city. Alderman Schandelmeyer, I see your hand.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Watts, I see you work for Fellow now,
I do.
the disability advocacy organization. How long have you been with them?
So I actually started mid-July, so I'm relatively new with them, and I'm the corporate trainer there. So I handle all of the essential trainings for new employees.
All right, well, it's a fantastic organization. I know some of the folks who have been long timers there when they were still the ARC, so very happy that they have good people like you there. So
thank you. Yes, I'm very excited to be a part of their team.
And they also have been incredibly supportive of some of the housing efforts in the city, obviously working with a vulnerable population. So
yes,
that's fantastic. Any questions, Alderman Huntley?
No, I'll just say I'm excited to see some folks on our committees whose year of birth has a 9 in it. In the 90s.
Yeah. That's true to that. So we'll make a motion to recommend this to the full council. You'll come back. Well, you don't have to if you do not want to, but this will be before the full council. I believe the meeting has been moved to the 29th.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, September the 29th.
And will that be, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, please.
Will that be virtual as well?
The full council meetings are in person, and so that'll
Okay.
be at the council chambers right off of Duke.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion for a favorable recommendation for Ms. Watts to join the Education Commission.
Second.
There's a second to that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Thank you very much, Ms. Watts. We appreciate your time and look forward to your work on this commission.
Thank you so much.
Our next section for the agenda is legislation. We'll get started with 01425, implementation of the Annapolis Ahead Comprehensive Plan of 2040. We've had pretty in-depth discussions about this legislation previously. If there are further questions from members of the committee, I will entertain those. I see we also have members from our planning department present. And obviously for expertise, I would defer to them. Any questions on 01425 or any of the amendments? I'm seeing none. Are we, yes, making a final vote on this? This has been to public hearing. And so if the committee is comfortable with it, I'll take a motion.
Well, shouldn't we do the amendments first?
Do you want to do them separately or do you want to carry it as one?
Yeah, I have an amendment.
Okay, let's do it separately, starting with Amendment 1 introduced by Alderman Huntley. You want please explain?
Sure. Well, so my biggest concern with this is around the areas of Dock Street. So this is, let's see, I believe this is page 10. Yeah, we're talking about page 10 through page 11. And if you look on page 11, you'll see where it's sort of, well, the council, it's the legislation, I should say, is allowing these options to exceed the height limit if 3 conditions are met. And the way the legislation is drafted is that it has to be condition 1, condition 2, or condition 3. I believe that was an oversight, and it's supposed to be condition 1, condition 2, and condition 3 all have to be met to be able to exceed those the height limit for those accessory structures. So all this Amendment 1 does is change "or" to "and."
And excuse my ignorance. Please explain bullet point B to me. The aggregated footprint of any such structure shall comprise no more than 25% of the area of the roof.
I'll take a stab at it, and then if somebody from planning and zoning, feel free to tell me if I'm wrong. What it's saying is that these structures, which are so we're saying certain structures here can exceed the existing height limits. That's the title, the allowable projections. And what that B here is saying, 2B is just saying that those structures can't make up more than a quarter of the roof area. So if we're talking about these for, air conditioners, right? I think that's one of the examples that's been given. You can't put air conditioners on the entire roof. You can only do it on up to 25%.
Okay. And then bullet C, to me, that are we sure that the "or" is not correct and that the "and" would be incorrect? Any such structure shall be positioned on the roof to minimize, to the extent possible, the degree to which is viewable from all public right of ways, and shall be screened on all 4 sides, with such screening being an integral architectural element of the building and the required green. Why would that be a requirement? Is that within? And I need someone from planning and zoning, please, or our city manager, I see is here, to jump in on bullet C.
Alderman Gay, Chris Jakubiak, Planning and Zoning. each of these 3 points are meant to minimize the impact of any of the structures that may be located on the roof that projects above the height limit. So C is very important. It calls for screening, which would be helping to visually obscure to the extent possible. And this would be a standard that would be applied by the Planning Commission in site plan review and Historic Preservation Commission as well, to some extent, because it's a part of the developer's application.
And screening, I guess I'm just lost there. What does that look like? What is that? Am I thinking of the traditional screening material, or is this, are they building it something to, obviously hide the upstairs? I'm thinking of just buildings downtown that have accessible rooftops, and trying to think of what facilities currently have screening around structures.
Yeah. I don't know that many do. Screening could be the use of certain colors to camouflage, to blend the any structure into its surroundings.
Okay.
It could be an architectural feature that blends nicely with the surrounding roof line, or that's meant to disguise the structure that's housing the equipment or other feature of the roof.
So it really could even be like artificial greenery or something.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It could be integrated into the green roof in a way as well. But it's meant to be broadly interpreted so as to provide the designer and the regulatory authorities enough leeway to secure the best outcome possible.
Okay, that's fantastic. I have no issues, Alderman Huntley. My apologies I just wanted clarity on that. And curious if possible, if at some point we could see if other developers were required to do the same in the past. Obviously, if you were just fixing this language, they've probably been operating off of the or, which could explain why we haven't seen anything like that previously.
All three standards are new. And so this is a new set of code. In other words, they're not applicable to other situations. And there are quite a few situations where we have roof structures popping above a height limit, or where smaller buildings are using their rooftops for certain activities. But so this is a new standard that will apply moving forward in this particular part of the C2 zone.
On page 11, Alderman, is this language blue? I think the confusion for me there is that in the amendment, the only language was, I was assuming that this was pre-existing text.
No, so the amendment just changes the or on line 16 of page 11 to an and.
Okay.
And that both the or and the and everything around them are new additions to the code that are being done by this ordinance.
All right, I appreciate that. If there are no further questions, I'll turn it over to take a vote on this. If we could also have Ms. Jackson, can you have Ms. Router take a look at this? I think something either in the key is off, or in the amendment is off, because it says underlining in red is new matter, black, but there's no reference to the blue text, which is kind of confusing there. Even on the first reader in the explanation.
Mm-hmm.
So if that could be added, that'd be helpful.
Okay.
We want to take a vote on this amendment?
Yeah. Make a motion for a favorable recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. None opposed? Awesome. Thank you very much, Alderman Huntley. Next amendment is Amendment 2, introduced by the administration. Is anybody any questions or concerns from the committee on this amendment? It is a rather bulky amendment.
And it seems like the amendment makes it possible for that section, the Dock Street section we were just talking about, to happen. So my concern is I don't like the whole section, so I'm going to vote no on the amendment. But it is, I will say, internally consistent in that if you want the changes at Dock Street, I understand why this amendment needs to occur.
I have a quick question, and just in regards to, obviously the development is taking place. What is going to happen with the adequate public facilities and the requirements for the developer to, and particularly I'm concerned about the flow of traffic at Dock Street. I've been, trying to raise awareness about this since the beginning of the City Dock project. And people are still talking about it till this weekend. Randall and Dock Street is just absolutely terrible. With this and the City Dock project, obviously the traffic pattern changes, but there's been no mention of traffic lights still. Is that something that will come up in future conversations?
I don't know exactly if that would come up. It could very well come up in future conversations. But the impacts of any land use change are subject to those types of considerations. This is why they go through the Planning Commission, and just indicates that while this is a zoning text amendment, it creates the possibility, but it doesn't ordain anything. Any development that is subject to these regulations has to go through the Planning Commission and Historic Preservation Commission. And if it's a use that's called to be a special exception, it has to go through the Board of Appeals, which is the body that looks at potential adverse impacts on surrounding properties and neighborhoods. So any land use change will go through an extensive review process involving at least most likely 3 public hearings: special exception with the Board of Appeals, Planning Commission site design review, and Historic Preservation Commission for historic district standards guidelines. So, these things get tested in those venues.
And I hope that at each of those stops it is brought up or mentioned. I think obviously when you introduce amendments like this and legislation of the likes, something will be there. I don't know if it will be, the aforementioned hotels or anything like that, but there will be some sort of development. I think that will be for the betterment of our city dock and for our downtown. And I think that when the city is willing to lend assistance to a developer, they should be looking out for the best interest of the general public. And included in that, obviously, is pedestrian safety. And so,
If I can,
I'm sorry, my apologies.
I just want to clarify, the intent of this bill is not to lend assistance to any particular developer. It's to allow for the redevelopment of properties and bring them into compliance and better adherence to the historic standards in that particular area, given the public investment in the park. So whether a developer or more developers or individual property owners seek to a change under these regulations is something we don't know. We just are setting the terms for overall better design for that section of the city, not for any particular developer. And I would imagine if a developer was seeking a zoning text amendment, this would probably have to be the one that they would most appreciate. This still keeps in place the extensive review process and the standards that apply in this particular zone.
Awesome, and thank you for correcting me there, Director Jakubiak. I would hate to be in circuit court over comments on a meeting, and so I appreciate that very much. Can we take a vote on this amendment?
Make a motion for a positive recommendation.
I'll second that. Will all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you very much.
And then I have a third amendment that I'm going to not overly work, but I do want to suggest that we strike. So if you guys are looking at the language, the legislation, it would be to strike from line 16 on page 10 all the way through to line 26 on page 11.
Line 16, page 10, starting with obviously City Code Title 21.
Yeah.
And striking out all the way through on line, I'm sorry, page
11, line 26.
Page 11, line 26. So the entire
section.
Can you give brief explanation, and then I need to hear from planning.
Look, I think there's a lot of good stuff in this bill overall, right? I mean, correcting the 3250 square foot rule, like that's great. It's a lot of stuff in here is making our code simpler and more reasonable, correcting these things that we know have caused all sorts of problems. I just don't think this is that. I think it makes our code more complicated, actually. And I think it is, I understand the argument from a legal standpoint from the Director of Planning and Zoning that this is about a block and it's not really about any one person, but it certainly feels unfair to me that we're saying this is only for one block, right? If this is such a good idea, then why not do it for a broader area? And then the third thing is I just think that in many ways our height limits have served us well. Certainly there are exceptions to that, like with anything, but in general, our height limits have served us well. And if we're going to change them, we need a really good reason. That I haven't been convinced it's a really good reason. So three things. This is making us more complicated. Doesn't seem fair, and it's nibbling at the fabric of our height limits.
And understanding that's including Amendment 1, correct, Alderman Huntley?
Yeah, it would strike, whether it's an or or an and, it would strike all of it, yes.
Yeah, just making clear that that it would impact the previously passed amendment.
Yes,
Alderman Schandelmeyer, did you have any questions or concerns?
So, one, I do think we kind of narrowed ourselves down by keeping this so narrowly focused. But some of the things to point out is that these limits would keep it in line with the height-wise with the adjoining buildings right next to it. As far as the skyline goes, the buildings right next to it are in line with the height limits now. These would be in the exact same heights. And if we compare this height limit to other historical cities that people compare to Annapolis, like Charleston, this is still lower, and they have also done things similar with things like the Hotel Bennett. It anchored their renovated park, and it created a wonderful community space. I've also been to other historic cities older than Annapolis. Montreal had a similar setup where they allowed for accessory structures, rooftop dining, cut up a little bit back in their old port area. Hell, I've been to Riga, a city that's medieval, and they've had places like this in their old town area, dating back to the 1400s. And it didn't ruin the history. It just provided some additional flexibility. I know the guy who owns the property is an SOB. It doesn't feel good, but blocking entire land use decisions because of someone that we don't like and blocking flexibility for something that can create a good anchor for a project because there's one person we don't like doesn't seem like good land use to me. So.
And again here, just for clarity, as the director has mentioned, no project has been submitted. And so the comments that myself and the alderman have made are based on speculation. And so we should just set that right for the record.
I do want to bring up one point, though. a constituent of mine had asked for this to go to the Historic Preservation Commission. And I understand there were some issues, but I thought that there had been like a compromise potentially reached. Director Kubiak, could you elaborate on that? Like a presentation maybe brought to the HPC?
I'm not aware of that at all,
Okay,
or any compromise or.
neat.
Right. Ooh, do you want to respond, the Office of Planning and Zoning at all to the introduced Amendment 3 to strike, starting on page 10, line 16 through page 11, lines 26?
Well, I don't want to be in a position to counter the reasoned arguments from another alderman. I can answer any questions that you might have, Alderman Gay, or if you would like me to address any particular points, I can.
Well, if you would just clarify this one point for me, Amendment 3 would effectively kill the bill.
Well, Amendment 3 would kill a major section of 01425. Because 01425 deals with many things, including planned developments. Whether it kills the whole bill or not, I don't know. I mean, it depends on how consensus is maintained among those who are sponsoring and voting for it. The proposed amendment would remove the section of this bill that allows certain projections to extend above the current building height. That's what it would eliminate.
I appreciate that very much. Any other questions or concerns? Alderman Huntley, if you'd like care to share any more, or are you prepared for us to take a vote?
I've said my piece on it. I would potentially be open to making a second smaller amendment if this fails. But yeah, let's go ahead and vote. Well, I guess I made the motion to have an amendment.
You did, and was it? I believe Alderman Schneidermeyer gave you a second, and so
I will second it because not letting something get seconded is disrespectful.
And thank you, Alderman. We appreciate that. So there's a second on the floor. Let's take a vote. All those in favor, aye. Opposed?
Oh, aye.
Oh, there's one opposed. Aye.
Aye.
So there 2-1. The motion fails. Any other concerns before I take a final vote on 01425 for favorable recommendation to the council?
I'm sorry, Alderman Gay. You just said my motion failed. You and I voted for my amendment.
I just voted no.
I'm sorry. I must have misheard you. Okay. Sorry.
My apologies.
I thought when you said all those in favor say aye, you must have. Okay. Sorry. The amendment failed. If that's what you're saying. I was just, I misheard you. I thought you voted aye on it.
My apologies. That could have been a misspoke on my.
You said aye to a nay. You did say aye, but you said aye after all those opposed say nay. If we wanted to the technicalities, did you intend to vote in favor? Or did you?
I was about to say for the record, it was a nay.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for the clarity there.
Okay.
And so are you introducing a second amendment or are you?
I was considering suggesting, after Alderman Schneidermeyer suggested it, that we strike the provision limiting this to properties with frontage on Dock Street. But I think I would like to do some more research before suggesting that. So I'll do some more research on it, and I don't want us necessarily to vote on that tonight. I only considered it when Alderman Schneidermeyer said that.
Okay, I appreciate that very much. And again, I think with these the legislation that we have in front of us right now, there is no real opportunity to postpone. And so pretty much these votes are final once they get to out of this committee. Let's take a final vote on 01425. Is there a motion? So it's,
Before we make a motion, Alderman, Mr. Chair, if I may, Director Kubiak, I do think that this does need to have some presentation or something with the Historic Preservation Commission, at least on that one part. I had let it go over August because I had believed we had come up with a potential compromise. I know that there was legal issues on why it couldn't be a full hearing, but I had thought that there was a potential compromise reached on how to do that. And I got to express a little bit of frustration there because I did think that the chair of HPC had a very valid point of view on why they deserve to at least hear the height portion on this.
Yeah, I was under the same impression, Alderman Chandler. Not to just to let you know you're not crazy. Truth be told, now I can't remember with whom I had that conversation, but I did think we heard at one point that this was going to at least get a, if not a hearing, a presentation to the Historic Preservation Commission.
well, the correct or the appropriate thing to do is that either the sponsor would indicate that they'd like to have it sent to that commission, or the chair would make a request to the council to have it sent. In any of our meetings, was there requests from the council to have it sent to the Historic Preservation Commission? I'm looking.
I had made multiple requests, but
That's what
there had been legal concerns for the full hearing, and I understood those, which is why I had not pushed, but I had believed we had reached a compromise on a presentation. So,
Alderman, do you have the next date for the Historic Preservation Commission? I'm here on the webpage, City of Annapolis's webpage.
I don't know. We're in September, and like I'm not going to derail the entire comp plan for that. Like, but you know, I'm a little
Well, let's quell this quickly. Our city manager is present. If a request can be made to the city manager to handle this offline, that would be helpful if maybe CCing the chairman of that commission, the planning director, and the all the people here.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Just to put that to rest, and Alderman, whatever you get, then feel free to turn it over to the public, and if necessary, it obviously can be presented on the 29th. Is that fine?
Yeah, that's cool. But I don't want to jam this up here because we are under the gun, and like I'm not going to derail our whole comprehensive plan because of
I want to jam it up.
And with that, I will be making a motion to take a vote on 01425.
I will second a favorable recommendation.
Okay, can I ask the director one other question before we have our final vote on this?
There was a second, but I will allow it.
Okay, thank you. Director Jakubiak, one other concern I have with this is that from my looking, both mechanical penthouses and green roof are not defined in code. And I can understand why we might need a flexible definition, especially on green roofs. I've actually done a fair amount with them professionally, and I understand they change. They've evolved a lot. But my question is, why would we not, as part of this legislation, define at least what a mechanical penthouse is and maybe what a green roof is?
Further definitions are not a bad thing. I believe the environmental environmental matters standing committee is going to be addressing that particular issue on the green roof. And the rules committee received an amendment from Alderman Savage about the mechanical penthouse definition as well. So I believe those definitions will be worked out in that particular committee and brought to the rules committee as well. The The green roof definition is, to our way of thinking, it's self-evident. It's the stormwater management solution to, improve water quality. But I understand why it's relevant and would be helpful. So we fully anticipate working with the Rules Committee as we kind of work through those, and the Environmental Matters Committee as we work through those two topics.
Okay, that's a satisfactory answer. I think a little bit about I got married at Chesapeake Bay Foundation's headquarters, which was the very first LEED certified platinum building in the country. And they have this great story about when they asked for a green building, the first person who tried to bid on it said, "We'll paint it whatever color you want." So I want to make sure we don't end up with that situation for the roof.
Fair enough.
And if I'm not mistaken, Alderman Huntley, our deputy director or deputy city manager of resilience, Director Guild, has done extensive work on the green roofs, obviously based out of the legislation that we passed coming from the Netherlands trip. And I'm pretty sure that could be used, or the base of her research could be used to assist you there as well. And we're in the middle of a second, so I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is continuing with legislation. 02925, Tyler Avenue Complete Community Overlay Districts. We had great public testimony this past week. Any questions from the committee before I ask my one question? Seeing none. My only question, and Mr. Lashinsky or the city manager would be able to help with this. Can you please provide either written or if you have it handy now, just an update on the streetscape projects? As I mentioned last night, I know I think it's still in procurement, but am I correct in that?
Alderman Gay, Eric Lashinsky, Chief of Comprehensive Planning. Good question. I'm glad you brought it up at the City Council public hearing. We believe it's going to be implemented in the next month or so. We, being our comprehensive planning team in planning and zoning, have been coordinating with Jeff Wentz, the traffic engineer in Public Works. We've seen a drawing of the restriping that is being planned and some of the other features. So it's definitely in the works, very far along. I think he's really just trying to tee up the construction crew that does the work on the street. I think he's trying to coordinate with other work that's happening in the city, so the same crew can do that work, when they're doing other similar work. But it's imminent, as I understand it. So
I appreciate that. I just think that's critically important. Obviously, it's not directly attached to this legislation, but I believe it is, because that is one of the promises that was made to the community, just based out of some fear. Secondly, if you could just respond to one thing I've heard last night that obviously you've talked about me with, but for the benefit of the public, the idea that the legislation, for example, if I live at the property next to the tire shop and I sell it, and I get in cahoots with my neighbor and we get together, that there could be 4 houses, stories high, built on those properties, combining properties. Can you just address that concern, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So the development guidelines in the legislation that would apply to this corridor, this overlay district, Tyler, we've defined the overlay district being from Forest Drive to Bay Ridge Avenue along Tyler Avenue. And there's a very clear line that pulls in the properties that front that corridor. The guidelines are very specific and very measured to respond to what we heard from community members. I'll give you an example. The height limit does not change from what is allowed today. That's 2.5 stories, 35 feet. That is the maximum height limit in the R2 zoning district, which is the predominant zoning along this corridor today. That does not change. So concerns about, tall buildings overwhelming what's there today are somewhat unfounded, but I know people get concerned about those types of things. I don't fault them for the concern, but we also in this legislation have pretty specific guidelines that determine when and how you can do certain housing types. And this is also by design. Basically, the idea is we wanted to, more than anything else, allow for a variety of housing types, many of which are not allowed in our current zoning. The idea being that we could create a more diverse community of housing of different price points and sizes for different household sizes. And really, a lot of these are in the city today. They're just not legal. We're talking about smaller single family homes. I mean, that one in particular, it's hard to argue against that, a smaller single family house. But the reality is there's no real economic incentive to do that because we put a very large minimum lot size for residential single family development. And so we said you could do a smaller single family house. We have square footage on that, have it right in front of me, but basically on a smaller lot size, about half of what is required today. And that was something we heard from community members. They like these sort of small ranch houses that's in the community today. So there's some incentive now to do that. A duplex is another example. It frequently
Duplexes.
just looks at that.
Are you sure? Duplexes. That sounds scary. I'm sorry,
Just
Mr.
don't-
Lashitsky. Please
Just
continue.
don't count them. Yeah, just don't count the mailboxes. And most of the time, they're going to look like single-family homes. That's the point we tried to make. There's a number of duplexes in the neighborhood today. Many of them are in an R3 zoning district, which allows for them. The R2 zoning does not allow for them, and something Alderman Huntley knows about. So it's pretty reasonable. I think everything that is in this legislation, I would say, is considered an incremental change. It's really, it's sort of ticking up density in a very minor way. And it's all very contingent upon the size of the lot. So these housing types go up to a fourplex, a building that has 4 units in it, apartment units, but you have to have a pretty sizable lot to do that. And so a typical lot might not be able to accommodate a fourplex. I think the legislation has that at, let me just see here. To do a fourplex or a threeplex, you need 10,800 square feet. And, so not every lot is going to be able to do that. The other thing that we're creating an avenue for is cottage court. This is a interesting housing type that we get requests from property owners occasionally who have a sizable lot and they want to create a cluster of small homes that have shared open space, shared parking. There are examples of this today in the city. But this is, again, another housing type that is not allowed anywhere really in the city unless you were to do a planned development which is a more complicated scenario. And so we're really trying to make these housing type options more feasible for the typical homeowner, property owner, something that you ideally don't, nothing against land use attorneys, but we're trying to make our code a little bit more accessible to property owners so they don't need to hire an attorney to get through the process, that they can do things by right. They don't need to seek a special exception. Yes, that's the idea here.
And could you also just quickly just touch on to the point where you spoke about, obviously, if you have large lots, and you want to continue the single family building, it can be done so just on a minimum lot size. And in particular, one lot that you showed me had like 3 houses on it, and they had the shared driveway. And so something of a similar idea, correct?
Yep. Yeah, that's a great example that already exists on the street today. You have essentially 3 individual single family detached homes that share a driveway. Now our code is written in such a way that one of those is vacant right now because the owner of the property does not live in Annapolis. They rent out one house. There's another house in the back that's separately owned, and that's occupied. But that third house can't be rented out because you're not allowed to rent it out. You can't have 2 principal dwellings on a lot. That's really the crux there. So it's a tricky situation that we think this legislation would legalize that site and enable that vacant house to be rented.
Which is obviously all of our goal of affordable housing. And so I don't think, Alderman Schoenemeyer, I don't see any concerns. No.
I'm really excited for this. I think this does a great step in trying to address the lack of starter homes in the city. And we all know the main cause of our housing crisis here is the fact that there's just not enough homes to meet the needs and budgets of our working families. So this really helps address that shortage of available starter homes. I have some concerns about how we still make it easier for these things to get built. We all know there's a whole lot of layers on layers of code, but how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? We just introduced legislation on Monday that I think is going to help with some of the financing on these smaller scale projects to make it a little bit easier as well. So, hey, this is a great first step. I'm not even going to call it a great small first step. This is a great big first step. So I commend our planning and zoning department on the amazing work that was done. And
are you telling me you will sign on as a co-sponsor is what I'm hearing?
I'm kind of shocked I'm not already. So yeah, let's do it.
Alderman Huntley, did you have anything?
I would echo Alderman Schoenemeyer's comments. This seems phenomenal. And just when we heard at the public hearing on Monday, overwhelming praise for the process. It was really impressive. I can't remember the last time we had people come out and talk that way about any bill before the city council, how much they felt like their voice was so being heard on this. So just not only what seems to me to be a good bill, but really kudos to the whole planning department on the process behind developing it.
Exactly. I think Mr. Lashinsky, your crew, obviously led by Director Jakubiak, planning has very quickly, I've always said, become one of my favorite departments. I think it's the work that you all have done, and the general public speaks back about that. And obviously we get some of that from Director Jakubiak, but this is fantastic. And I think obviously, like you just said, it's in line with what we want. One of our employees, their house on Tyler, their next door neighbor's house just sold for like $2 and some change. One of the most affordable housing sales in the city. This street, as some expressed, is based on affordability, and I think it'll stay that way. I don't think there is any underlying motives here. And so what I'm going to do is call a vote so we can get out of here.
Well, if I can address that one major concern that folks have had, and
Please,
I think
please do.
it's being said as like, oh, this is already affordable. These because a lot of these are older units. But here's the thing: what you can do right now when these older units eventually deteriorate is you can either do complete renovations interiorly and complete total renovations, which brings them up to a very high value. We saw this in Primrose Acres, where there was a house that sold for $60,000 and is now for sale for $400,000 because guy did great work. I know the guy who bought it. He lives in my neighborhood, renovated it. It looks great, but it's really expensive now. Or you can tear it down and build a McMansion, which doesn't help anybody either. By allowing these smaller types of builds, you allow for a smaller new starter home to happen. So we need to allow this smaller new stock to come online as these older homes reach their age limit.
Absolutely. And that makes me think of the gentleman, the veteran that you extended help to a while back on Tyler, who was having issues with the quality of housing.
Eldemar, correct. So while he definitely wanted to stay in his home, and we were able to fix his home with DHCD grants. Fixing it was a massive renovation and cost, and it cost about $300,000 to get that up to snuff. So, like, total renovations on older homes cost a lot of money. Like, it's something that adds up to a cost. And if you can build newer homes for lower cost as well, you can kind of add to our housing stock, address our housing shortage, and give people new starter homes.
Amen. So let's take a vote. I am going to recommend favorably O2925 to the full council. Is there a second for that?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Hearing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Lashinsky and Director Jakubiak for coming through this portion. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. We're happy to be here.
Yeah.
Our next item on the agenda is just general discussion.
Mr. Chair, we have AP 5725.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we did amend the agenda at the beginning of the meeting. AP 5725, appointment of Miss Valerie Bonham to the Commission of Aging. Is she present?
Okay. Well,
okay.
Mr. Chair, I move we take no action on AP 5725.
I appreciate that. I don't actually believe we have to take a vote on it at all. We'll just let it roll over.
Yeah. Or postpone action.
Ms. Jackson, I see.
If you guys want to meet her because she's an appointment before it goes to the full council, you will need to postpone it, but you don't have to take any action. And it can no action. It'll still go.
Is there a desire from the committee to have her present before us, or are you just set on passing this so we can take this vote to get it up?
Let's postpone action, and if she's not here in October, we can just take no action so we can get these spots filled before the next council.
Fantastic. So there's a motion to postpone it, the AP 5725 to the Housing and Human Welfare Committee meeting in October. Is there a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. So with the conclusion of that AP, that brings us to the end of our agenda. In good of the order, I do want to just be sure that we have every because I was positive that there were 4 or 5 pieces of legislation that had been sent to the Planning Commission and then needed to go to public hearing. I feel like we're missing something, and particularly the alderman's R2 legislation. I'm assuming we'll have all of that in October. I'm sorry.
Is this you have to request it to come to your committee, and then I'll.
Did we not? Okay, yeah. Well, I'll make sure I talk to you about that. I thought maybe we had that requested to come before us. And then
No,
also,
Right now, it's only going to rules of city government. So in the interest of time, if you want, well, I mean, people, if you want to discuss it, my preference would be that we don't wait until the October meeting. But I can understand the benefit of prior public notice that just here.
Alderman
I
Schindelmeyer.
mean, yeah, Mr. Chair, I think it's pretty safe to say we all support the legislation. I understand us all wanting to get our fingerprints on it, but us trying to get in front of this committee is just gonna cause a lot of delay, and we're under a time clock on it. So
I get that. I would definitely be curious. I do want to propose a few amendments. And I do have general concern that now, and I'm not a not a NIMBY, anything like that. But I do have some general concern, Alderman Huntley, and I hope you would understand that.
Sure.
In particular, just the effects it may have on some things in Ward 6. And so I will not have it at this committee. I will try to make it to one of the committees virtually that you're discussing it in and ask my questions there. The only other ask that I have is, can you be sure, Ms. Jackson, at our next meeting in October, that an invitation is extended to the members of the Housing and Community Equity Development Commission to join us here so we can say some final goodbyes. This is our partnering commission that works in housing affordability and equity and development. And just want to recognize them before we all head out. Well, before I head out and the two aldermen move on to the general. And so let's get that taken care of if we can. No other concerns or questions on the agenda? Awesome. Can somebody make a motion for us to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. I appreciate it to all the staff on for sticking around. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.